qualities of a team that would dominate domestically. The talent that rolled off the United production line during the 1990s was testament to the manager's vision and the board's willingness to finance the country's most extensive scouting and coaching setup. The policy saved United millions in transfer fees and further enhanced the club's popularity worldwide.
The actual history, heritage and ethos of Manchester United is to develop our own talent, and be able to augment that and supplement that as necessary by buying talent. So buying a Wayne Rooney who wasn't within our system, for example, buying a Cristiano Ronaldo, but also developing our own players, because our philosophy, our strategy is to have a twin-pronged approach.
My office, have you? 11 guys sitting in the top of the Empire State Building, and if one fell, the other one grabbed them. Maybe 2 or 3 would die at one time just to save each other. You can't have a better example of teamwork than that, can you? So you've got to do everything for your team. That's how United have won all these things. Well done, you got a haircut. I'm good at that lard. There's a lard that's on that. What are you putting it? Gel. I think there is a distinction between expression and ability to play, you know. You see players with ability every week, you know, but getting them to go in front of 76,000 and to express that ability without fear of intimidation or making a bad pass or making a mistake, I think it's a really important issue.
Having conquered the Premier League and twice completed the domestic double, Fergie's next challenge was to further emulate Sir Matt Busby by winning the Champions League, or the European Cup as was. In 1999, on what would have been Sir Matt's 90th birthday, Ferguson's dream was realised in the most dramatic of circumstances against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I put it down to fate, I think, you know. It was Sir Matt's birthday that night. I think he was maybe up there forcing the ball over the line a bit. And all my thoughts were in that final 3 minutes of the extra time was put up, I kept thinking what I was going to say to them. And what I was going to say to them is, you've had a fantastic season, you've won the double, you've been the final European Cup, we'll do it next year. And of course, we got 2 goals in a minute and won the cup. And it was just incredible.
The European Cup, the FA Cup and the Premier League trophy all returned to one of the most famous stadiums in world football. Old Trafford has changed considerably down the years, and extensive redevelopment has transformed it into a 76,000 all-seater arena, the largest club stadium in England. In the 2006-07 season, 2.1 million fans watched United at the so-called Theatre of Dreams.
When our fans are really at full volume, we're very difficult to beat. Summed up in the European ties this year, Roma and Milan, fantastic. Also, when we played Blackburn Rovers, and Mark Hughes hit the nail on the head when he said that when United gather momentum through the fans, they're impossible to beat.
We've sold out every game. The executive seat sales, which were roughly 1/3 of the new seats that came on, went well. And the payback on the investment of over £40 million is roughly 6 years. So it's in financial terms, it makes sense. We're still turning away fans. So it's arguable, should we expand it again? It's slightly more difficult, but on average for this season just gone, we've turned away just under 6,000 fans for every Premier League home game.
Further enhancing Manchester United's income is the Premier League's global television deal. United are featured more regularly on domestic screens than any other club, so they receive the most appearance money. They've also benefited from the sliding scale reward system. The higher a team finishes, the more prize money they pocket. United have never finished outside the top 3, so the sums earned have been enormous. All of this has enabled them to go head-to-head with Europe's biggest clubs for the continent's best players. Domestically, only Chelsea's squad rivals that of Manchester United.
Chelsea clearly have a different business model, and they've invested heavily, as you quite rightly say, over the last 3 years, and that's fine. What our modus operandi is still to sort of compete in the transfer market. We spent a lot of money, for example, last year on Michael Carrick, which demonstrated we can do that. We will continue to do that. Funds are available. You know, the owners understand that we've got to continue to invest in the product, and we can't rest on the success of this season. We have to improve the squad for next season.
With my experience and David Gill's experience, and with new owners obviously, and they understand that we're in the club the right way. When we say we're interested in someone, they know we've done our research on them, we know we've done our work on them, we know it's going to be important to the team. And in the main, I think we've done it quite well, you know. But there's been no, in my time at the club, there's never been a time when they've said the club says, no, we don't have any money.
Money and Manchester United were front and back page news in 2005, when the Florida-based businessman Malcolm Glazer bought the club. It was a controversial deal, as it relied almost exclusively on finance raised against the club's assets. The takeover was fiercely opposed by a group of United fans, wary of the fate suffered by another English club, Leeds United, who'd risked all by borrowing heavily. Championship challengers in 2000, Champions League semi-finalists in 2001, Leeds were on the verge of bankruptcy just 3 years later. David Gill, as Manchester United's chief executive, was singled out for criticism by the protesters. But he always saw it as a good move for the club.
The situation where we had before, where we had some large shareholders, whether it be Irishman, Magnier and McManus, the Glazers, we really had the responsibilities of being a publicly quoted company, but we didn't have, and all the governance issues, but we didn't have some of the benefits of it. You know, we weren't, it's not as if major city institutions owned us, it was really privately owned. So what I saw with the takeover, we could sort of effectively, you know, the future would be set, we'd know where we were going, and all this instability through the ownership structure that we had at that time would be washed away, and that's what's happened in practice, in my opinion.
So far, the fans' worst fears have proved unfounded. Money continues to be made available to the manager, and the increase in ticket prices hasn't been as drastic as first thought. It is true that United are saddled with huge debts. Interest payments alone amount to £62 million a year, but it's not all doom and gloom. As well as money from television, United will bank £56 million over 4 years thanks to their sponsorship deal with AIG, and they've the Glazers to thank for that.
The shirt deal was certainly down to them. I mean, not down to them, but obviously Vodafone, terminated their contract early. The family and them saw it as a great opportunity and went out and sort of we marketed it aggressively and came up with one of the third or fourth largest companies in the world wanted to be our sponsor, which is a great testament to the name of Manchester United.
All that means little to some die-hard fans who continue to oppose the new order at Old Trafford. So disillusioned were they that during the summer of 2005 they banded together to form FC United of Manchester, a club they believe embraces the very principles the Premier League giant had abandoned. The new club is membership-based, with everyone receiving a single vote on decisions affecting the team. All money from merchandising is ploughed back into the club to support youth development and the reserve team. The supporters claim they're now fans instead of customers.
Nice thing. Good game the other night.
FC United's general manager is Andy Walsh, a key member of the group that so vehemently opposed the takeover at Old Trafford.
The Glazer takeover at United has landed the club in huge debt. Just recently we've seen them announce the losses that they made in the first year of trading, and those losses have amounted to over £80 million worth of interest payments alone. When they first moved in, they made promises that they would communicate with the supporters and let the supporters know what plans they had. They've never spoken to the supporters since.
Obviously the debt level's gone up, and therefore interest and capital repayments gone up, but we've had stability through ownership structures. You know, we've taken out costs associated with being a publicly quoted company. With private owners, they can afford to take a longer term view. Certainly, yes, we have more debt, but the income's gone up and the ability to service that debt is there.
2 trophies in a week, that'll do me.
The majority of fans who watched FC United last season did so instead of attending Manchester United's away games. According to the Premier League club, though, Many of those same fans still attended home games at Old Trafford.
A small minority couldn't bear to sort of pay money to continue to support the team and come to the stadium. But I think that was a minority. The rest of them, like me, wanted their team to be challenging and playing exciting football. And we've scored, what, 83 goals this year so far, top scorer. You couldn't fail to be impressed, in my opinion.
Who's to say what's going to happen in the next few years? Who's going to say what's going to happen to Manchester United? Who's going to say what's going to happen to FC United? The Glazers might get bored. The Glazers might refloat Manchester United on the stock exchange and try and get out themselves. Because they're certainly not making any promises to the supporters about what they're going to do at the club. You know, the best that even David Gill can say about the Glazers is they brought stability. Instability that was caused by the club being a PLC. The opposition to the PLC came loudest from the supporters, but we were told we didn't know what we were talking about.
The future requirements for Manchester United are clearly defined. The debt incurred in the takeover must be well managed. With the stadium full every other week, massive sponsorship deals in place, and huge income from global merchandising, this would seem to be a fairly simple task. But to avoid the problems experienced after the retirement of Sir Matt Busby, United must prepare themselves for the day when Sir Alex Ferguson calls time on his United career.
Celtic turned us over the other night.
Since 1990, Sir Alex has delivered the trophies that have helped build United's financial empire. He'll be a tough act to follow, but you get the feeling that Manchester United will continue to prosper as one of the kings of clubs.
We'd be innovative. You know, that's been a feature of Manchester United throughout its history.
The most important thing really is the team and the players. If the team wins, you know, everything falls into place.
And we have to, you know, make sure we've got the best scouting, the best network to identify the talent, and then Alex and the team can attract them to Manchester.
I have very little to do when the team are doing well.
You look at myself at United, 20 years, winning the 9th title that day. So there is reason to support the view that giving managers time to incorporate all the philosophies into the club works.
Goal!